And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because, boy howdy, if there is anything in corporate culture that I hate hearing the term raise cap. And part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble, and you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. Yeah, that's about as much information as from my real life as I'm going to pass along to all you folks, so that's just, you can deal with that as you will. It is what it is. We're going to have a little bit of a lean show tonight, and that's just because of the way that things have been playing out. There's reasons, and I'll give you a short and dirty momentarily. So, from me, over on the right-hand coast, sort of, over on the left-hand coast, joining from way out there where smog isn't necessarily as bad a thing as it used to be, Io gets to join us. Have you seen the pictures? Have you seen the pictures?
I managed to get off of all of my asthma meds back in Canada. I'm back on them all now because of the smog down here.
Yes, but it's not like you can walk on the clouds like you could in 1940s.
True.
Yeah. Kind of like the same way that you used to be able to, walk on water in the East River in New York City, once upon a time ago before they dredged all the Buicks with very full trunks out of the river. I'm sure I have no idea what I'm talking about on that one. Part of the reason why Buicks were so important to the mafia back in the day. I should not have said that.
You know way too much.
Yeah. So hi. Yes, it's us. We're here. Like I said, it is going to be a thin show because at the moment I'm expecting it just to be the two of us. So are we going to go 2 hours? Probably could. Don't expect it though, for various reasons. Tech is out of town and unavailable. Bridget, well, the way things have been going, either one of two things has happened. Either A, the sons of bitches won't leave her alone for a weekend again because did you miss the part where I called them sons of bitches? You might have missed that part. It just kind of flew under the radar there. The other possibility is that she's spending a little bit of time with an I Love Me jacket because they've wound her a little bit too tight. And the only way of decompressing from that is to wind yourself back up a little bit together. It's kind of the way that things work, which is the way that it's going to be. So, yeah, we'll see how it works out. I have not heard from Joseph in a while, so I'm going to have to be checking in on him. And as usual, Dallin's busy. So, him spitting down with us, yeah, that he's still okay. We do see him on the weekends and all, so. And by the weekends, I mean last night for show, so it's all good.
I swear I'm going to end up with an alcoholic liver with cirrhosis because of the two of you, because of Friday nights.
It's
having to.
It's what we do. So, to kind of go to that end before I finish introductions with everybody, yes, I have decided that last alcoholic beverage that I had bought a little while ago, I'm going to finally get to. Bark to the Future. I am not anticipating good things. I am expecting that I'm going to taste it, and I will just go ahead and say, it's beer. We shall see. It is cold. So we shall see how this plays out. Now, as usual, if you would like to join us as we record, which is almost every weekend, not always, but, almost every weekend, feel free to join us over here on YouTube. Love to have you. And you can be part of the live chat, which is right now over there. So, Felis, hi. It's good to have you back. Missed you last night. A little worried. So, good to have you back. And, is it correctly pronounced Exil?
Exil? Yeah, Excel? Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not quite sure, but Hi, welcome.
It's a European name. That's all I know.
That's okay. And Stephanie, do you see you over there? Hello. Good to have you guys over here. So yeah, let us go ahead and see what happens. Open it nice and careful, gently. The nose says it's very lightweight on scent. Oh my word! It is the color of carbonated horse piss. Isn't that lovely? Well, I mean, it's. I mean,
That was close.
you tell me that I'm wrong. You look at that color.
No. You're perfectly right, but that was that close to a spit take.
Yeah, keyboard bukkake is like the way of things, and I'm kind of impressed. The head on this is holding on really tight, which is a little surprising because I was not pouring that like great, but I wasn't doing it poorly. I don't think. Oh, well, I guess we'll get some in my mustache. We'll see what happens. So
I'm drinking something from a place called Angry Orchard. It's crisp apple hard cider.
yep, heard of that one. Heard of them.
The fun part is it was free alcohol.
It's hard to argue with free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, there are exceptions to the thank you, no thank you to free alcohol. Memory serves, the beer that I tried out that said that it was milkshake beer. That was bad.
Mm-hmm.
The one that said that it was creamsicle. Also, no, thank you, ever. This is a curious taste and a curious smell. It's almost like oranges, like mandarin orange, which is kind of weird on the scent. Taste wise, it's kind of lightweight on the taste. So it's not exactly beer, but it's kind of like a very lightweight beer. I don't know. I mean, it's not so bad that I won't go and have a little bit more into the glass. And I guess we'll see where this takes us. I am still really super curious about the head on this thing, though. That's really weird. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anywho.
Not going there, not going there, not going there, not going there, not. Hi.
Okay. So we're working from there. How about I get things rolling, and then we get to get into the horrible scopes because cool stuff in there. There really is. Because, well, I'll explain when we get there. So, with that in mind, let me go ahead and get things rolling over here. With 5 minutes on the clock, your 5-minute freestyle is going to start right now. Labor. Yes, I spell it O-U-R. And if anybody's got a problem with that one, I don't really care. The British English version of the word labor does have a U in it. The Americanized version, of course, in this particular case, United States American version, I should say, because North America doesn't exactly have all its U's in one place, although they do tend to be north of the border into Canada. Labor, with a U-R, the English spelling. There's a reason why I specifically chose this word. Monday is in North America. At least I'm pretty sure it qualifies as just North America. I don't remember if Mexico has or hasn't, or if they qualify as North America. In any case, Labor Day is what's coming up. Monday, literally the day after we record this, it's Labor Day. It's a celebration, if you will, a recognition of the labor movement in various different countries of the world. Some of the things that were instrumental with it were things like the 8-hour workday. Now, in these days, of course, there has been a lot of yelling and screaming that 8 hours is just, it's too much. It makes no sense. Because what we used to do in 8 hours with the minimal amount of mechanization and computerization, we can do that in just a couple of minutes in some cases. We don't have telephone operators anymore because you can program a phone tree and it's done. You don't need an extra person. So long as the power is kept up and going, you're fine. So long as the internet connection is up and running, you're fine. You don't need to pay a person to man the phone banks. You don't have to man somebody to periodically clean out the phone jacks where everything gets plugged into. Anybody that remembers one ringy dingy knows exactly what I'm talking about. Once upon a time, 8 hours was viewed as the norm. And you could do a lot in that time. You still can. But the amount of output that you can do now in those same 8 hours is simply unfathomable to someone back in the 30s, in the 40s. And I'm talking about the 1930s and 40s. You go back 100 years from that, the 1830s, the 1840s. Oh man, what was possible was simply nowhere near the same thing. Nowhere. The amount of difference is absolutely, positively staggering from 100 years ago. And it's hard to believe that we're talking about almost 100 years ago. The 1920s. What was going on then compared to now? Business-wise, what could you do? What could you get away with? Safety regulations. Making sure that people, didn't leave work in separate body bags. Children don't have to grow up and die in their 20s from black lung. People can actually work in conditions that are, well, reasonably safe. You don't have to worry about poisons every time you're trying to take a breath. You don't have to worry about cave-ins underground. You don't have to worry about so many things. And now, in this 21st century, there is no reason short of greed for companies to not change out the 8-hour day to 6 and still pay the same amount. Greed is the biggest factor of it all. Because companies, as Joseph has reminded us time and time again, that keep gaining profit are removing money from the ecosystem, and it's just a pile of money that they sit on doing nothing with. Take that money, invest that money, put it into your people, because no matter what machinery you use, no matter what computer system you operate with, no matter what kind of power you run your system on, your system is run by people. Celebrate them. Make sure that they are the reason that you're in business and they know that you know it. Because if they don't, sooner or later, you won't have a business because you won't have the people. Free market's funny that way, isn't it? So with that out of the mind, let's go ahead and do the horrible scopes, because I spent a lot of time working on the horrible scopes this week. Plus, I got good.
Continued on with your rant, you know that?
Oh yeah, but there's only so many minutes in 5.
Mm-hmm.
Time for the horrible scopes. Those of you that know what your astrological sign is, cool. And if not, you can just pick one, roll a d12, make it up as you go along, doesn't matter. Or better yet, if you need one of those d12s with the cool squigglies on it, you can get in touch with the nice folks over there at Heart of the Game Fredonia, because I got the chance to talk to the dude over there who said, I can get those, and I can order them, and I can sell them, and I can even ship them to the 48 continental U.S. So those of you that might be in the area, get in touch with them over there on Facebook and ask if you can buy. If you do, just give them a couple of extra bucks. They're a small company, and they're still doing well. Tell them Shoot and Tribble and the Horrible Scopes sent you over. Hail, hail, Fredonia. It's the home of the Blue Devil. Now, at the end of summer, the unofficial, at least, because it's Labor Day, it's time for back to school season. And since we can't offer you discounts on paper and pens, how about we just give everyone their own joke for higher education? Or just school-age jokes. Because that's the way that it works around here sometimes. Aries, we're quizzing you on geography and culinary arts with this one. What U.S. state has the smallest drinks? Minnesota. The best part of it is it's always refreshingly cold up there. I should know, I've got family up there. I used to have family up there. I think they're all dead now. So this week, it's properly pronounced Minnesota. Ask anyone who lives up there, preferably not in the middle of winter, though. Again, trust me, I know a little something about this.
You're making me do this. You're just gonna punish me, aren't you?
It's the luck of the draw, my kid. It's the luck of the draw.
We'll see. I've already paid my pun tax. I went to the penitentiary to learn a new habit.
Mm-hmm.
Taurus, your joke will be quizzing you on cardinal points. A woman walks into a library and asks the librarian if they have any books about paranoia. The librarian blinks one, leans forward, and whispers, "They're right behind you." So this week, do you know why they're called cardinal directions on a compass? Neither do we. Guess we got some all pre-class homework to do.
Yeah. I actually don't know. I know that there's supposed to be some kind of simple answer. I just don't know. Gemini, your joke is based on astronomy and gastronomics. Why does a moon rock taste better than an earth rock? It's a little meteor. So this week, there's still plenty of opportunities to have a great outdoor grilled steak. It's super easy. You get your 1-inch thick bird of beef, top sirloin. Let her sit for 15 minutes. Salt and pepper heavily. Grill her at 400, 4 minutes total. Flip each minute to get them good grill marks. Let her sit 2 minutes. Down the hatch. Do not screw up my dinner. Thank you, Wayne.
Cancer Moonchild, let's quiz you on your knowledge about the man who brought us dynamite, Mr. Alfred Nobel.
Nobel.
Why did this...
Nobel.
Fine, you can read it. You can read them all.
Noble is
Why
what you
did
call
this-
a gas.
Why did the Scarecrow win the Nobel Prize? He was outstanding in his field. So this week, remember the Scarecrow in the 1939 movie, The Wizard of Oz? Ray Bolger's face was permanently lined by wearing the Scarecrow's makeup. So there might actually be something in the hole. Stop making that face or we'll be stuck that way, warning our grannies gave us.
I never believed it. Now I kind of have to believe it just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Leo, we're pitching you into sociology and linguistics for this one. What do all the cool kids learn at school? Algebra. So this week, try to pick up some current day lingo and make a middle schooler cringe. Bonus points if they laugh. I actually asked a kid who's probably just about to enter middle school what her favorite pony was, because she had a whole bunch of pony stuff that she was donating to the shop. So,
Aww.
no, actual pony, not
Oh.
MLP pony, just regular pony stuff. And she said when I asked favorite pony, first one she started off with was Rainbow Dash. And I'm just like, I mean, there's Princess Luna. I mean, by the way, if you have an Android device and you ask it, what's your favorite pony? Don't be surprised if it mentions not a pony.
Okay. Virgo, we've dropped you into a creative writing class that's doubling as your pre-law training. After a thief was caught stealing all the punctuation marks from the courthouse keyboards, the defendant is expecting a long sentence. So this week, you never trained to be a touch typist. Now might be a really good time to practice.
Libra. Pre-law, pre-med, what's the difference? Well, you're getting both pre-med and civil engineering mixed together with yours. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long? Because then it would be a foot. So this week, do you know what a Brannock device is? Looks like someone else needs some pre-class homework too. Ladies, you want your man to have a very high score on a Brannock device.
Scorpio, engineering is one thing, but how about mechanics for you? Why did the student show up to school covered in wrapping paper? His teacher said he had to be present. So this week, we told you it was temporal mechanics already. Stop groaning. I need more alcohol.
Sagittarius, I got some right here. Would you like me to? I can shove it right through the phone line for you. Sagittarius?
No, the cider will be fine.
For you, we're combining astronomy and photography, and we're expecting good things out of you. And I'll tell you a little something about this for myself in just a second. What do you call a second place trophy in an astronomy contest? A constellation prize. So this week, second place isn't bad when you consider all the other entries into the contest. At least you beat out the kids who submitted a so-called full moon picture of the department head's split pants. When I was going to finally buy myself a digital SLR camera, I was reading up about them because I was trying to figure out, what do I really want? And I wanted to get the Canon, I think it was the D20 Astro version. But as I'm reading the review about it, it said at the end of it, you might not be able to buy this product because it will probably be discontinued by the time this review goes to press. They were right. So I got the 30 instead.
Capricorn, you're getting a joke based on herpetology, speech therapy, and computer science. What's a snake's favorite subject in school? I love doing this one yesterday. History. So this week, at least we didn't say they liked programming in Python, spelled with the Greek letter pi. Can't you just be grateful for a change?
And I said it before, I'll say it again. It is such a pain in the neck to try to find that letter on an American keyboard. I had to look it up on Wikipedia and then copy and paste it into the document because that was the only way I could do it. I did not have enough fingers and nose tips to press the right number of keys. Aquarius, there isn't a specific course for your joke, just more of a you learned this already moment. Little Johnny raised his hand and asked, "Teacher, can I go to the bathroom?" His teacher, not appreciating being interrupted, replied, "Little Johnny, may I go to the bathroom?" Little Johnny looked confused and upset, saying, "But I asked first." So this week, did you know that in the 70s, men could order pants from a catalog that had built-in urine padding? Yeah, That was a thing. It was fashionable for men to wear slacks with built-in diapers. Think about your grandpa wearing those now. You're welcome. J.C. Penney's, man. Look them up, J.C. Penney's and Sears.
Well, we know somebody who's probably buying them. Pisces. We're giving you one of the most recently created sciences that always has something new to tell everyone regarding cartography. Cartography? Missed that one yesterday. Cartography. What did one tectonic plate say to the other when they bumped into each other? Sorry, my fault. So this week, remember what Lex Luthor's scheme was in the first Superman movie? Blowing up the San Andreas Fault to make a new coastline? Way in the north area wasn't... I'm blowing this. Blowing up the San Andreas Fault to make a new coastline. Way in the north was an area called Tetchmarker Peaks. I don't think she was deserving of that area. Might we suggest you find the August 1981 cover of Playboy magazine and judge for yourself? That movie scared me.
You know, the tagline for it was, "You will believe a man can fly." And my God, when Superman first flies through the Fortress of Solitude the very first time, it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
Well, it came out in 1978.
Correct?
Which means I was tiny.
Younger than me.
I was out of diapers for a couple of years, and it scared me. I don't remember if it's one or two that scared me worse, but I don't do horror movies that well, and the Superman movie to little old me was a horror movie. I should not have been taken to that movie.
One of these days I'll tell you about the movie that I shouldn't have seen at an age that I was, because it scared me and it scarred me ever since. But that's another thing for another day. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, okay, sure, yeah, whatever. But of course, if you didn't, and you'd like to get something nicer or naughtier for yourself or someone else, you can always bribe me by asking, because I operate very heavily on vanity. Or conversely, you can always actually properly bribe me with money. Take a swing over to the Ko-fi page, coffee.com/Icarus the Lunar Guard. I'll have these posted online at the end of the week, as usual. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky. You can follow me on pretty much all of those, depending as to which account you want to find. HCTV has got several all over the place. So, it's the way it's going to be.
Can I bribe you so I don't have to read the horrible scopes?
You can try. The worst that can happen is I say... Actually, I don't know what I would say. I've never had that come up before. We'll discuss it. We'll see what we come up with. It's episode 506 on the docket, Your Honor. Religion in politics is bad because... ... Look, in the United States, the whole First Amendment to the Constitution, the first piece that's written up that basically says, hey, we kind of forgot a little something, sort of. It's just not implicitly listed, so let's go ahead and, put that in there. And, of course, the much lauded, freedom of religion thing, which tends to not be addressed correctly or quoted improperly. But there is a very, very real reason why you shouldn't mix politics with religion. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna discuss that. Because, well, the biggest reason is because reality and religions tend not to mix well. One doesn't reflect the other. I can't imagine how. So there are a couple of things we're gonna chatter about and talk a little bit about, because there's some things that just are in the Bible that don't reflect reality in any way, shape, or form. And I know we could very easily be talking about, pretty much any of the religion tomes that are out there, but it's easiest if we talk about the Old Testament, because that covers both Christianity and Judaism. Technically, part of it also covers, technically, Islam. Only just barely technically, because the three come out of the Abrahamic area. So technically they're all related. Inbred, some might say. But let me give you a nice, simple, and easy one, because I love hearing about it. Bats are not birds. Birds are not bats, regardless of what it happens to say in the book. It is absolutely, completely demonstrable that the two are not in any way, shape, or form the other. It's as simple as that. So if that one scientific thing is so blatantly wrong, you have to kind of ask yourself, what else did they get wrong? Because if you got one thing wrong, it's a good bet you got something else. So, yeah. Now, I'm not expecting you to be at all necessarily versed in a lot of stuff for any particular religious tome. For instance, I'm pretty sure that you would agree that, according to Pastafarianism, heaven is not necessarily a land with beer volcanoes and strippers everywhere. Probably, but it's a wonderful concept, though, isn't it?
Since I would have neither beer volcanoes nor strippers, how about a big pile of squishies for me to dive into and go, teddy bears!
I'm sorry, did you say titty bears?
Teddy.
I like mine better. But, you know what? Pastafarianism, I'm sure that the Flying Spaghetti Monster could grant whatever wish you wanted. So, sure, why not? You want a room full of teddy bears? That's your business. Teddy bears
Teddy.
instead? Yes. All right, fine. You wanna not be interesting? That's perfectly fine and legitimate. That's okay. Whatever you want to do in the middle of those teddy bears is your business. Then you want to do that? That's fine. You're welcome.
I do have a dick bear. It's actually shaped like a dick.
As in Nixon?
As in a penis.
I was hoping you would say that. We can discuss later how you get any kind of stains out of whatever fabric it's made out of. I'm sure we can talk about that later.
No. It's too big for that sort of play.
That says to me that you know what?
I'll take a photo of it for after.
Maybe. You know,
Maybe.
I was gonna say something that was going to take us like just bouncing over the level of not safe for work. I'm withholding comment at this time, but just know full well that we're right up against that line of the not safe for work category for me. I know we push it quite often, but we're really close on this one right now. And that's okay, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, about 3 years ago, Black got me a subscription to Um, was it 50 Shades of something? I don't remember exactly what it was called, but it was every 3 months, new toys would show up, new fun toys that we loved trying. A couple of them I really liked, and one of the deliveries it had this stuffy in it, and I went, "Hey, mine!"
Okay. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. That's good. Um,
I've also got a fox that has a knife in its mouth, and it says basically "f around and find out."
as you should.
Hmm.
As you should. Um, so yeah, the what what the various religious texts have to say about different things, about the world, about the universe at large, can very easily be shown to be um, errant. I think is the technical term for it. Some people would like to say that their God is infallible, that their interpretations of texts are inerrant. No, that's not how that works. Claiming that the Earth is a disk has been shown to be
Oh,
incorrect.
pucker nuts.
Now, it could be argued, now, I'm going to say this very carefully, it could be argued that the Earth is a disk folded onto itself in 3 dimensions. Now, before anybody gives me shit about this one, let's also remember that it is possible, regardless of what your geometry courses have taught you, it's possible to draw an equilateral triangle with 390-degree angles.
You have to use a sphere in order to do it, but yes, it can be done. Discord was having a little bit of a fart at me.
All good on my
Over
side.
on, yeah, I know, it was on my side. You became mechanical and I finally caught up again. Over on Reddit, there's a thread in our atheism. The Abrahamic religions are just to keep women reproducing. That's one thing. The other thing that I found really interesting was evangelical broadcasters sue the IRS for the right to endorse candidates without penalty. The lawsuit calls for the Johnson Amendment to be declared unconstitutional. And it links over to the Friendly Atheist.
Hammett Mehta is a wonderful personality. I've never asked him to be on the show, but I would love to have an opportunity of speaking with him. But I do believe that I am too ignorant a personality to properly interview him. And I say that with absolute respect.
It would take you a couple of weeks to set up, but yeah, you could do it. Or just let him rant.
That wouldn't be terribly difficult, I don't think. I'll keep that in mind.
But basically, the opinion that, from what I can see, is that um, sure, you want to have lobbyists and you want to say these candidates are the ones that you guys support. Fine, pay tax. If not, shut up. The problem is they're not shutting up. And the IRS is too scared to go after them for all the taxes that they really should be paying.
Yep. Yep. The
It's easy to go after the little guy that makes 100,000 or less, especially in the 50,000 range. It's really easy to go after them because they probably don't have the resources to back themselves up with a lawyer in order to get the IRS to back off. But corporations, churches, millionaires, billionaires, no. They have lawyers. They have lawyers that have lawyers. They have lawyers that have lawyers that have lawyers. And accountants that have accountants that have accountants. They have layers to protect themselves from having to pay taxes. So the IRS is basically fangs for the little guy and gummy for everybody big.
And we can look backwards to try to find out who basically took the teeth out of the IRS for enforcing the rule. The rule basically is, and again, reminding you all, this is the law in the United States. It doesn't apply everywhere. That if you are a religious institution and recognized as such by the IRS, and you're granted tax-free status because of it, which, let us also remind you, also includes the Satanic Temple. Go, guys. We love you guys. Ronald Reagan was the president under which, now, if he had direct control over this part, I do not recall specifically, but I know it happened under his watch, that the IRS was basically set up to enforce, I use the term very loosely and with scare quotes over here, enforce this amendment to prosecute when these tax-free groups run afoul of the thou shalt not endorse political candidates in the pulpit rule, so that if they were ever found to be against this rule, that it had to be bumped way, way up the totem pole before any enforcement could come down, and even then it had to be signed off on at a very high level. And at that point, it becomes almost comical in that almost nobody's got the stones to do it. And it's just gotten worse and worse and worse, because they will then go ahead and do their thing, they will record it, and then they will send videotapes or DVDs, their video recordings of themselves literally breaking the law, and almost literally saying, here's your proof, go ahead, come after me, I dare you, I double dog dare you. And then what happens? I believe the expression is fucking nothing. Now, as I recall, the Canadian way of dealing with religion and politics is quite a bit different. How much do you remember?
Not much, because I wasn't really part of any organized religion from about the time I turned 18.
That's fair.
Although the last couple times we did the census, I claimed Jedi.
That and best of my recollection, that is recognized and valid in the UK.
It's recognized and valid in the UK, Canada, and Australia.
Oh, I didn't know about those.
Because that's where a lot of people have said that they were Jedi. It's basically mind your own business about what religion we are. That's what I think it means.
That's fair.
But it also goes with the belief that I have of, yeah, there's something out there because it's out to get me, or that the universe is trying to discover itself, the Force. Da, 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 da. But it's not midi-chlorians. It's not that. It's just basically there is an energy that we flow through. We are part of. It's a part of us. Da, 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 da. Can I levitate anything? No. Can I use a lightsaber? Probably not. Can I use a fake lightsaber and have some fun and bash people in the head? Yeah, I did that. But, it's Canada is a Christian nation, but they don't thrust it down our throats, sort of. It's in our Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It's in one of the first lines of that a nation under God. What I forget what the line actually is. I can look it up. Yes, I probably used the American thing, but we have the freedom of assembly and of religion, and just like Americans are supposed to have. But Canada is a Christian nation with Christian values, and I'm not talking do unto others so they don't do it to yourself. I'm talking it's part of how we ended up with medical for all. There was something that happened. I believe it was in Saskatchewan, where it was a big hullabaloo and people were hurt. And so they were bringing people to the hospital, and patients actually got out of their beds in order to allow these poor people to be treated because of what happened. It's in the Heritage Ministry. It's in the Heritage Minute stuff. I could probably find it if I dug, but it was one of the things that we started with. And because of that, because we thought about our brother as well as ourselves, medical came up.
That's
And
very
the next hospital was built, and it was built bigger, and it was for the entire community, not just for the people that could pay for it. It was for the entire community.
That's beautiful. Stephanie is also pointing out, in the UK, we have bishops sitting in the House of Lords, but their only influence was our Sunday trading laws. The fact is that religion is not important to most people here. At this point, yes. As I recall, those who have listed specifically as being part of the Church of England has declined precipitously over the last couple of decades, now that folks have become much more attentive to the fact that, if I remember this correctly, that people are automatically assumed to be part of the Church of England until and unless they declare otherwise and specify that. So Church of England has had, this grand listing of percentage of the population, and over the couple of decades, it's been declining and faster and faster because, the youth are coming up. They are, all right, let's call a spade here, shall we? The youth of today are so well informed on societal issues. It's not even funny. It is absolutely not even funny, and it is definitely one of those things where when somebody says the kids are all right, yeah, the kids are all right, but man, are they pissed off, and rightly so.
I found it. It's Heritage Minutes. I've added it to the show notes.
Okay.
Myrnam Hospital in Alberta. So I was only off by one province.
Well, I mean, they're kind of big areas, so I mean, it's
literally Alberta has a funny shape. Manitoba has a funny shape. Saskatchewan is basically a rectangle. Saskatchewan, you watch your dog run away for 3 days.
And then I'm thinking to myself, you want to talk about funny shapes? I mean, there's PEI and it's just, I'm sorry, it's just, PEI to me is just fun. Prince Edward Island is PEI. And I'm just thinking to myself, okay, it looks funny, also sounds funny. So it's the voice of the people, PEI, are just, because they're right next to the Newfies and they're all listed together. Just leave me alone. I'm not Canadian. I'm just honorary Canadian. I'm allowed to have a little fun at everybody's expense. Shut up.
But I would love to see a Satanic Temple pack.
That would be interesting.
Because they're already fighting for the freedoms for everybody to enjoy and to have. Just like the ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union. In about 2 years or so, as soon as I get my citizenship, I'm going to be getting an ACLU card. And then a Satanic Temple card. Although technically I could get one now.
Yeah, Satanic Temple, as I recall, you can do that. $25. Yeah, and if memory serves, you have your choice of various different color schemes. It literally is a plastic credit card sized card that says the person holding this is a member in good standing with the Satanic Temple and yada yada yada. And I say that because I've actually held one, and you won't believe. Oh my God, it's somebody that's actually semi-famous, who allowed me to like touch, hold, and inspect their satanic temple card.
Who?
My son, my
Sweet.
tiny Tribble, is a card-carrying member of the Satanic Temple.
The one tenet that I love from them is that one's own body is inviolable.
Yeah. Read. You know what? Read the whole thing for the class, because that one is really, really impressive, and it's necessary.
I gotta pull it up again.
From the list of the tenets of the Satanic Temple, and we have talked about the 7 tenets before, and pit them up against the 10 Commandments from the Bible, which is always a pain in the ass, because you have to try to figure out which 10, because everybody seems to have their own version.
We're talking the Satanic Temple, which is actually a group of people that are trying to make Christians go, shit, we can't do this, because if we do it, they'll come in too. Whereas the Church of Satan is,
they're assholes.
I don't even want to think.
No, they're
I
assholes.
don't want to think about
the Church of Satan is a different group. They're assholes.
Yeah.
Pure and simple.
This is the Satanic Temple, and it's basically to rub Christian noses into what they're doing. You just shat on something. Here, puppy.
Yeah, the Satanic Temple.
Learn not to do this.
They're in hacking, computer hackers. There are 3 hats. There's black hat, there's white hat, there's gray hat. The Satanic Temple are white hat trolls. They follow the letter and spirit of the law, so that when they do the same thing that everybody else has been doing and claiming it as religious freedom, they can go ahead and say, we're a religious organization too. We've been recognized by the federal government of the United States as being a religious group. Ergo, we are allowed to do this too. Which then gets everybody's panties in a twist.
There are 7 fundamental tenets. 1, the first one should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. 2, the struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
Okay, now, before we move on from that one, I've always had it in my head of trying to understand exactly how this one is supposed to be. Because the wording to me could go either one of 2 ways. Either that the pursuit... give me the first couple of words on that one again.
The struggle for justice is an ongoing and necessary pursuit that should prevail over laws and institutions.
Which to me has either meant the pursuit, regardless of what the laws state, the pursuit itself should be paramount even above whatever laws might be in place, versus you should be making laws in accordance to the pursuit of justice for all. And
to me, the best example of the struggle for justice and that it should prevail over laws and institutions comes from Star Trek The Next Generation, first season, with Wesley Crusher. He's playing with the Edo kids, and they throw a ball at him, and he falls into an area that's forbidden, which is supposed to be death. And Picard, I forget what his speech was, but basically he shamed the people that were supposed to do the law and kill Wesley, that the law was not just.
Yeah, the long and short of it was pretty much exactly that. Any transgression in Edo society was a death sentence, period. And for them, they said it worked. And yeah, Picard had to actually tell him, guys, you need a sliding scale, because if everything is simply destroy the life that made an honest mistake, what the fuck, people? Now,
The episode is actually Justice, and it's the 8th episode.
Yeah, one of the few times where the first season had a goddamn banger of a moral behind it. And it was a tough one because this could very easily be seen as breaking the Prime Directive. Could. Or, alternatively, you go to a new country, you're supposed to follow the laws of the new country, whether you like it or not, because it's their law, not yours. Which some people kind of forget when they travel outside of their own country.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, then there are some people that forget that when they travel from one state to the other. You know, things like maybe concealed carry as just an accepted thing is just not allowed in that country or that state. You know, going across the border into Canada, for instance. Folks, just between us and you, don't try doing that. That's going to end poorly. Just keep that in mind.
I found Picard's quote. I don't know how to communicate this, or even if it is possible to do so, but the question of justice has concerned me greatly of late. And so I say to any creature who may be listening, there can be no justice so long as laws are absolute. Life itself is an exercise in exceptions.
Now, the way that it's worded is because around this planet, there was a rather nebulous something. It was larger than the Enterprise, and it was basically the overseer for the planet, for the society there, and he was trying to speak to that being, entity, space station, whatever it was, because it really was very ill-defined. And it was that being station, whatever the hell it was, that was keeping the Enterprise where it was and did not want them to leave because they were effectively breaking the law. And he was impeaching to whatever that thing was. You can't just kill everybody. I mean, can you? I guess you could. But at the same time, that's a really, really bad way of making society work. Because eventually it doesn't. It stagnates, and it implodes on itself. And I can say that because think of it this way. If the law says, if you do something wrong, the penalty is death, and penalty is excised as quickly as possible. Literally, they were going to kill Wesley inside of, well, admittedly, you know, it's TV, but within like 2 minutes, they were going to just eject him and just be done. How do you choose what's a transgression to the society? Admittedly, there was something that he actually physically did, so there's evidence of it. Plenty of people that were there where they saw what he did. And it was an honest mistake.
But they didn't tell him about it.
No.
They didn't tell him that those white barriers were a no-go zone.
Yeah, and he basically just fell into it.
And if you think about it, those Edo children should have been pulling him away from there. Instead of throwing stuff to him right beside it, where he caught it and he tripped and he fell and damaged plants.
Yeah. But what if it was something else? What if it was a word an utterance that has a different linguistic meaning? The vocalization has a completely different and completely innocent meaning in whatever Federation standard is as compared to whatever their native language is. How would you know?
I'm going to take a somewhat innocuous word that, depending on which culture it is actually really bad. Fag.
Yes. Excellent.
In English culture, the British Isles, that means a cigarette, not necessarily a derogatory for somebody that's gay.
And in older British English and not. It is also considered a collection of sticks.
Hmm.
Language shifts and changes. So who only knows what's right and wrong? And a lot of it really depends as to when, because of the way that things have gone. Uh, Different example. Just a handful of years ago, not even, the term skibbity could have been excused as being used in music as scat singing. Scat singing being that, you sing whatever pitches, and instead of coming up with whatever words to make actual words, you use whatever vocalizations work. So you can hear this kind of thing with a perfect example from the Jungle Book. You'll hear King Louie and Baloo scat singing. I want to be like you. You'll hear them, singing back and forth at each other.
My jazz choir, we actually had a vocal exercise.
Yeah.
And that's skibbity, scat, whatever. Now it's something bad.
Yeah.
Because also on the show, I know the IMDb lists Justice as the 7th show. That's because the first episode was actually 2 episodes. So Justice is either 7 or 8, depending on what numerical whatever. Anyway, from the cutting room floor lines. Or you could just show us how your people detect the seeds of criminal behavior so that we can prevent such chaos by way of mandatory abortions. This is the Edo leader saying. Captain Picard replies, "No, I will teach you nothing of that sort, and that is final." Those 2 lines were on the cutting room floor.
Ooh, I can understand why, but oh my God, there's also, wow, the level. Wow, reminding you that this would have been filmed in 1987. Wow, wow, the social awareness, even then, the brutalness of that cannot be understated. No, I will not instruct you in how to determine before birth has occurred whether someone is genetically predisposed to being a criminal. Wow. Because that crosses over not only criminal justice, but also
Eugenics?
Eugenics. Yes, that's exactly the word I was looking for. Wow. I never knew about that quote, by the way. Holy smoke.
It's on IMDb. Also, cutting room floor line. The Edo god replied to Picard about life itself as an exercise in exceptions. The Edo god says, "How can there be justice unless laws are consistent? Was it not one of your own people who said lawlessness anywhere endangers lawfulness everywhere? Without absolute law, my people would be inundated with exceptions, appeals, plea bargains. I believe your people have a term for it, with red tape. Nobody could be punished for anything anymore. Thus, if I yield to these requests of yours, what will you yield in return?" Wesley could still have been killed. Looking at this.
Yeah. Now, what makes the difference between this fictitious situation versus current day reality is that the Edo god, which is the entity, space station, whatever the hell it was that I was describing before, it was aware of reality and dealing with it in a way that to us seems antithetical to logic and reason, but it was dealing with reality versus the people in reality now who look at stuff and using their theology do not deal with reality on reality's terms.
Well, if you think about it, the tenet number 3, one's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone, is being violated with number 2 repeatedly in red states with abortion bans where, yeah, sure, the life of the mother, but she has to be at death's door. And even then, you could still end up being thrown in jail or executed for providing an abortion for her.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, and that's why we've talked through the tenets of the Satanic Temple, and they make sense. They're compassionate, they're reasonable, they help for society to continue to thrive, for an individual to grow and mature, to be safe. Are there exceptions that can happen? Could somebody twist them? You try hard enough, you can do that with pretty much everything. But when you're dealing with reality on reality's terms, that these tenets seem to do very well, it's kind of hard to argue with keeping them out of politics, except if you keep the blanket rule that politics stay out of religion and religion stays out of politics, good. Because then there's no wiggle room for who is dealing with reality correctly and who isn't, and who gets prosecuted and who gets persecuted. Everybody's on the same playing field. Nobody is supposed to be allowed through the door. The bouncer is supposed to kick your ass back out, and that's the way it's supposed to be. Nice, simple, level.
I'm I want to say I'm praying for the girls and the women in the red states, but praying doesn't do anything.
No.
This, if enough people hear about the HCTV, if enough people listen to it, maybe my words might have an effect. Hopefully, a good effect.
That's what we hope for. That is what we hope for every week, every month. Hell, every year. It's been a long time.
Hmm.
And you know, every time I think to myself, is it worth continuing to do? Is it really worth? I kind of have to remind myself, yeah. Yeah, it is. Anyway.
Tenet number 4. The freedom of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend. To willfully and unjustly encroach upon the other's freedoms, to willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forgo one's own.
Yep, you want to talk bad about me? It's fine, I'm going to talk right back about you. And that's the way that it should be. But you come over me and you break my nose, you better bet I'm going to be coming for your throat.
To quote somebody, and I don't have to say the name, say it to my face.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Number 5, belief should conform to one's best scientific understanding of the world. One should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit one's beliefs. Oh, that's a fun one.
Yep. I need to look this up. There is a quote from Doctor Who. I forgot what the quote is, and I cannot find it very quickly and very easily. Um, and the alcohol is starting to hit into the head. That's impressive.
Hmm.
Anyway, I forget exactly what it is that the doctor said, and I don't remember which doctor it was. I think it was the fourth, which would be Tom Baker. Something, something, something. Um, science, reality has a way of be, making things uncomfortable, especially if you are the thing that's making people uncomfortable. I'm not quoting it correctly. I know that, but I wish to hell that I could. Um, I'm sure I'll have to find it eventually. I, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Anyway, I'll find it later. Which one did you finish off with? 6.
5, I believe.
Okay, so 6 is
6, people are fallible. If one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it and resolve any harm that might have been caused.
yeah, and that's believe it or not, one of the most important words in that to me is harm. You can hurt people, and that's a bad thing. But if you harm, that's another level, man. That is a whole other level. And any harm that someone does, you should be more than willing to make amends and do as much correction as you can for that. And finally,
7, every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word.
yeah, it's a blueprint, it's a guiding principle, it's an ideal. Follow the ideal and do your best. Again, how do you argue with that? I don't know that you really can. And name for me. Try anybody. I I expect anybody to give it an actual, good yeoman's try. Try to find for me in any other religious text where they basically say, look, people are going to make mistakes. And it's entirely possible that what we've got here isn't going to be completely accurate all the time. But what we expect out of everyone is to try to be the best people that you can, to be supportive, to do good. Not to be good, to do good. And to remember that in those failings, we want to improve. Now, obviously, I'm making it all flowery and paraphrasing like crazy, but really, how else is there to read that? I mean, stop me when I'm wrong.
To me, it's the if one makes a mistake, one should do one's best to rectify it. The problem is that there are people that refuse to allow you to even attempt to rectify the mistake. And so they just pile on more onto your shoulders until they finally die or you die.
I'm still looking for a damn quote.
Mm-hmm.
That's I'm now in the position of trying to figure out where the hell this quote is, because I know this quote, and it's just this is going to be one of those things that's just going to bother the hell out of me. Anyway, um, so if you have a problem with trying to deal with reality on reality's terms in any other endeavor other than religion, you would be considered an idiot, a fool, and the term fool in the worst possible connotation. An ignoramus, not ignorant, an ignoramus. Again, in the worst possible terms. But when it comes to trying to deal with reality on a religious view, suddenly you're pious, you're supplicant to the word, you're a good disciple. And in the worst possible terminology, you are a sheep.
Uh, the First Amendment of the United States of America. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got the freedom to have your own beliefs. You have the freedom to exercise those beliefs. You do not have the freedom to stick those beliefs down somebody's throat and tell them that they have to believe it too. You can
And
teach them, you can show them, you can guide them, but you can't force them.
and by extension, you're not allowed to make laws that enforce them onto the populace. Or at the very least, that's the way it's supposed to be. And I found the quote, by the way. It took me a little bit. I found the quote. And I was right. It was from the Fourth Doctor, Tom Baker, who, for those of you that, for whatever reason, don't remember this particular Doctor Who, he was the longest running Doctor for quite a while. He was the one with the super long scarf and the Brillo pad for a head.
Care for a jelly baby?
The very same.
I used to go to this one little market where I lived because they had jelly babies, and I would make sure that I would always have some whenever Doctor Who was on, because the local KVOS TV station, the American station that was broadcast across border, because they also had a section in Canada as well. It was both borders. They used to have on Saturday nights, Sunday mornings, starting anywhere from midnight to 2 a.m., Doctor Who marathons. It would be the entire series of one story arc.
Damn.
Do you know how many times I woke my mother up at 6 a.m. just as I was about to go to bed? Because I had jelly babies.
So the episode in question is The Face of Evil. Now, what year this particularly was, what episode number, what series number, I don't know, I don't remember. It's not listed here. The quote, however, says this. Again, quote. The very powerful and the very stupid have one thing in common. They don't change their views to fit the facts. They change the facts to fit their views, which can be uncomfortable if you happen to be one of the facts that needs changing. Say what you will about science fiction in general just being flights of fancy. Science fiction's purpose is to give you a funhouse mirror to look back at yourself, at society, and realize there's something that needs to be fixed.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say that I knew what quote it was, even if I couldn't pull it up directly, immediately, I knew this quote. And this is one of those really, really important quotes. Science fiction is really important. Some people don't realize that.
I found it too. It's on IMDB.
That doesn't surprise me. I found it over on Screen Rant, but be that as it may.
Screen Rant, IMDB, whatever.
It's all good. It's all good. So when science fiction, when fiction, when popular media is able to deal and explain to everyone how you're supposed to deal with facts, with reality, with the universe at large, and in this case, capital U, universe at large. And it's only, quote unquote, only been around, well, basically for Doctor Who's been around for my lifetime. Started in 1969. Kind of the same as me. And religious groups who can trace back 2,000 years, roughly, can't get it anywhere near correct. I'm sorry. No. If you can't understand reality, how can you make law that's worthwhile in the long term? When you've got a book that says if you want sheep with stripes in their pelt, mate them while they're behind a fence, so that the light has vertical slats on them, so that they have stripes in their coat pelt. That's how you do that. No. Just no. You could have tried that out yourself in the day and seen that was wrong and not written it. Unless genetics has changed in the last, I don't know, 2,100 years. No. It simply boggles the mind.
James Madison said, "The purpose of separation of church and state is to keep forever from these shores the ceaseless strife that has soaked the soil of Europe with blood for centuries."
Yeah.
Thomas Paine, "All national institutions of churches, whether Jewish, Christian, or Turkish, appear to me no other than human invention set up to terrify and enslave mankind and monopolize power over profit, or power and profit. Religion is a virus." Another quote from James Madison: "Religious bondage shackles and debilitates the mind and unfits it for every noble enterprise. During almost 15 centuries has the legal establishment of Christianity been on trial. What have been its fruits? More or less in all places, pride and indolence in the clergy, ignorance and servility in the laity, in both superstition, bigotry, and persecution."
And there's one more that I want to add to that collection. Mrs. Peter Popoff, who was recorded on radio as having said, "Can you hear me, Petey? Petey, if you can't hear me, you're in trouble." Reminding you that this was a radio transmission from Mrs. Peter Popoff to Mr. Pastor Peter Popoff, in order for him to be able to hear what the prayer requests were for people in his congregation, so that he could point them out with information he shouldn't have had through a wireless receiver in his ear that the amazing James Randi picked up on to prove that he was, in the nicest possible terms, a fucking charlatan.
Yep.
Again,
Thomas Paine.
that was the nicest way to put it.
Thomas Paine. What is it the Bible teaches us? Raping, cruelty, and murder. What is it the New Testament teaches us? To believe that the Almighty committed debauchery with a woman engaged to be married, and the belief of this debauchery is called faith. From somebody that was like, oh, I don't know, the first president, the United States of America should have a foundation free from the influence of clergy. George Washington.
And let me also remind you of one piece that I know somebody else had to have come up with, but I noticed it myself. In Christianity, in Judaism, in the Abrahamic religions, in the beginning, God created man and woman. Woman was the one who was tempted by the serpent in the Garden of Eden to eat of the apple of the tree of knowledge. The snake, the serpent, said everything that guy said about dying and whatnot. Nah, man, that's not true. He's just afraid that you'll learn everything that he knows. So go ahead, you're not going to die. Go for it. But he said, I'm going to die. Who are you going to trust? Eve did not know who to trust. Eve, in that moment, became the first research scientist because she didn't know who was telling the truth, so she tested for herself. And what did she discover but that the serpent was telling the truth? In that moment, she then became the first moralist and the first philosopher because she determined that the best good was to share this newfound knowledge with the only other human in existence at the time, Adam, so that he would know the truth as well. And for that, as the first research scientist, moralist, and teacher, they were banished for having gained knowledge. And because of these verses in Genesis, in the Torah, the Bible, the very first book, forever afterwards, it has been considered for woman to be in pain and second class at best forever afterwards for this blasphemy of learning. What is more fucked up than that?
Every single Abrahamic religion has women responsible for what a man does. She wasn't modest enough. She didn't cry out enough because she should have. She wasn't loud enough crying out. So
she got raped.
She tempted. She did it. Basically saying that man is a beast that cannot control himself. So we have to control the woman so that he has no responsibility for his actions. Oh, sure.
And this is the basis that religious groups want to create laws because of, and in view of. I believe there is an expression in modern day parlance that goes, fuck you, go fuck dirt.
The one thing about every single evangelical, every single person that stands at a pulpit and says that God sent them or God spoke to them, and yes, I'm including the former guy because he's been saying that. I actually have the coin of this person on my, well, altar, and I've had it there for 20 years. I just trust those people who know so well what God wants them to do because I notice it always coincides with their own desires. Susan B. Anthony.
God love her. I'm not one to use that expression often, but my God, the woman was just an absolute beast. You listen to her quotes and put them into the context of when she was living, my God, that woman was a beast.
The fact that her words were actually captured and written down, whether it was by herself or by somebody else. Eliza. Um, Hamilton's wife, Eliza. She burned her letters so that her words could not be captured. Just think of all that knowledge that was lost. She was wise. Think of all the times where the guy gets credit for the scientific discovery, the medical discovery. It was actually the wife, the female helper beside him, maybe not wife, but female helper,
Yeah.
that actually did the discovery and pointed it out.
I know very well, who was it that I was thinking of? Marie Curie. I know full well that where the Nobel Prize came up, it was not presented to her. It was to her husband. Or at least I'm pretty sure it was her husband. I've forgotten who it was that specifically got it at that time. There was one other one.
Einstein's wife, she did a lot of the math and he got all the credit.
Yes. The other one that I know specifically, and this goes back to the horrible scopes, and we are getting a little bit long in the show and in my brain, so I want to make sure that I get this one in here. The system known as the scientific discipline known as plate tectonics. God, my speech is getting to be really bad. Really started in properly and recognized as a thing in the 1960s. And it was, where is her name? I want her name on the record. Is it? Where was it? I do not
It was
want to
something
name.
that I read in this last week, specifically about how Einstein's wife, and I don't even remember her name, she was helping him with the math.
Yeah, where the hell is her name? This is going to piss me off now because I refuse to name a name without naming her very specifically, because there was one woman who actually was pushing and pushing and saying, look, this stuff works together, and she is the one that properly set it out there. Stephanie's also pointing out penicillin was another case in point. I feel incredibly bad about this. I did not know that one. I do not know the correct story behind that one then. Why can't I find her name? The wiki page is being a real pain in the ass for me to try and find this. Because there's a whole bunch of
I
men
can
that are
just
listed.
find mine. I can find men's names only.
Yeah, I can't find her. I know it was a woman that was pushing for it. Oh.
Women have been erased from history. Um, Hidden Numbers. That movie shows about the computers. And I'm not talking about the analog, slightly digital stuff that was around in the 1950s and 60s. Say it.
Found it. Okay. I had to do a lot of hunting and scooching on this one to find it. Courtesy of Smithsonian Magazine. Show notifications? No. Block. Go screw you. Quote. There's no denying that maps can change the way we think of the world, but what about the way we think about what's underneath? That was the case in 1953 when a young geologist named Marie Tharp made a map that vindicated the controversial theory of plate tectonics, but Tharp's discovery of the 10,000-mile-long mid-Atlantic ridge, a find that showed that the seafloor was spreading, was initially dismissed. Go away, you stupid ad. Was initially dismissed as, quote, girl talk. Yes, I'm going to make sure that that is in the show notes because screw you, man.
I had the movie's name wrong. It's called Hidden Figures, and it's about the first computers. Literally women geniuses that could deal with math that the men weren't always able to do. And they're basically ignored in history. They did so much in order for the space program to even happen.
Yeah. True that. And I did not know about it either. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of I should know all this stuff. I love the space program. I grew up I was born just months before man landed on the moon. Just months before. And Apollo 11's mission has colored my life and my desire to see the exploration of space to a degree that I cannot justify beyond adulation. I never knew. And I've seen some of the clips of that movie coming up in my YouTube shorts, which, let me tell you, holy smoke, the level of smart of these women, if as portrayed, holy smoke, just amazing. And
women are erased from history and from science because they're supposed to be in the kitchen breeding babies and cooking meals and shit. How many women have had their lives destroyed because some man got them pregnant? Instead of being the scientist, the mathematician, the engineer that they could have been, they had to give up their career in order to become a parent and deal with that child.
or worse,
yes, women do try to balance career, parenthood, and some are able to do it, some aren't, but there's always a cost.
yeah, and Stephanie's also correctly pointing out, especially black women. Women of any diversity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, we can. When I was growing up in Brooklyn, I do believe that it still exists. There is a little amusement park. It's little, but it's still there. If you look, excuse me, if you look at the right at the bottom of Brooklyn, you will see along the Belt Parkway there is a place called Nellie Bly Amusement Park. Nellie Bly was the name of a woman who was an investigative reporter in New York City back in the day. To say that she was a beast does not do her credit. She was a reporter on par and better than many reporters even to today. She had herself intentionally committed to an insane asylum back in the day, turn of the century, 19th to 20th century, so that she could get information for what was going on in some of these places, because there was word that people were being beaten, abused, and she got in there to intentionally find out for herself. She did it. She got the information that she needed. She got her ass out of there eventually.
There was a woman in Canada that got into the prison system to see how inmates were being punished, and it was corporal punishment. And no, 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 it was too delicate for you to see, madam. And she brought out the exact tool that was used and whapped it in our House of Parliament. It's, again, in the heritage minutes. I would have to dig and find it. I'm not going to do it right now, because every time I go to any video site, Discord is having issues.
You're doing fine.
But women, we get discredited. We get, oh, she's had a baby, so she's going to be taking care of the baby. She's not going to be doing the math. She doesn't need the higher education. She doesn't need this. She doesn't need that. She'll be taking care of the baby for the next 20 years. And the house and the home for him. Except nowadays.
Because it's men work. Because they're hormonal and they have problems with their emotions. They've got problems with their emotions because you're condescending assholes. And this is a guy who's saying this. Admittedly, I have very light skin. I grew up in the suburbs of Long Island. And yeah, by a lot of considerations, I've had it pretty damned easy. No lie. I've got my problems now. But they don't stem from what people see because of what I look like. No, they don't deal with me differently because I got tits. I mean, I've lost a lot of weight, so I don't exactly have the same amount of tits as I used to. But be that as it may, Nellie Bly was a white woman. And one of the biggest things in Brooklyn that she's known for is being on the name of an amusement park, instead of celebrating her for being the badass reporter and bringing nasty shit to the forefront of people to be able to do something about. And
if you're a TV anchor and you're a woman, you hit about 40, you get thrown off for somebody younger and prettier. Meanwhile, your 40-year-old co-host who's a male has another 20 years.
Yeah. Because it doesn't pull in the viewership. Because it doesn't help with getting the eyeballs for advertising dollars.
Mm-hmm.
And we have no idea how many investigative reporters have been Native American in any capacity of what that might mean, because there are so many different variations of what a Native American would be. It could be what has been traditionally described as Indian. It could be somebody who is, well, Mexican, Hispanic in some way, Aboriginal, northern people, folks from the native Alaskans. Who only knows how many of these people were out there doing their thing, and they were browbeated and erased for no other reason other than who they were.
The Fukushima disaster, the earthquake that caused that, the Inuit were saying the sun's no longer rising where it was. And the Canadian government, oh no, don't worry about it. The Inuit elders were saying the sun is no longer rising where it was. It took them about 6 months. Oh yeah, we wobbled on our axis a bit. They saw it. They knew it.
Just because they don't have
And
digital scales doesn't mean they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
nope.
And the Inuits, for all of the failings of spirits in the sky and whatnot, what did they do? They dealt with reality. They went ahead and said, maybe in some cases, that certain things were caused by certain influxes of certain pleasures or displeasures of what was out there. But ultimately, they still looked at what's going on around us and how do we work with it. They didn't go looking to find out who do you throw into a volcano to appease a god. No, they gathered everybody together. It was a dry season, gathered everybody together. You tried to work with it as best you could. Maybe some groups were doing rain dances in different areas because that's what they thought was supposed to work. And believe it or not, sometimes that actually does work because it jostles the air. It bumps air molecules into each other, which bumps water molecules into each other, which can generate rain. Does it happen every damn time? No, it only has to happen a couple of times for it to become a thing. Is it completely scientific? No, because there was no way of testing exactly what it was. But did it work? Goddamn yes. And that is good enough. No God required.
There's a story at an SCA event. This one guy was trying to get his sergeant's or whatever rank, and you have to go through a bunch of testing, and one of the tests is dancing. And so he taught everybody how to do this dance in a circle. And somebody asked him, okay, so what is this dance? Oh, it's a rain dance, because it had started raining. And he was just, we had beautiful sun. Mind you, it was Vancouver, and therefore rain happens all the time. But still, coincidence. Yeah, good coincidence.
But it works.
Mm-hmm. Katie Porter.
Oh, God. What a woman.
I wish I could vote. I wish I was in her district. Whatever she's running for, I would vote for her because I love watching her vids on YouTube where she just tears people apart. One of her more recent ones that I saw, not necessarily more recent ones that she's posted or was posted about her, but one of the ones I saw was her going after the Wells Fargo people. Why are your tellers, why are your low-level people having to resort to federal aid? Why aren't you paying them enough? You've made this much in profit, you've made this much in dividends, you've bought stuff back. Why didn't you take care of the little guy that works for you first? Oh, well, their job is to make profit. And she's done that. Her argument about dishwasher, because apparently there was a law going through about dishwashers. She said to them, look, I use a dishwasher. You guys are all guys. When do you use a dishwasher? What do you know about dishwashers? The way she has been tearing the pharmacy industry apart, the insurance industry apart, the medical insurance industry apart, everything. We need more people like her in government that are willing to stand up for the little guy and get the minimum wage raised, make it so that CEOs can only make X amount compared to the lowest paid person in their organization, and make sure that we all have Medicare for all or medical for all. I don't want to say Medicare because but medical for all.
Yeah, it's better to call it that because who only knows what it could look like. Bottom line, everybody should be taken care of. We can make that happen without sacrificing somebody along the way.
The social safety net in the United States has so many holes.
It's a sieve.
Yeah, and it should be a net to catch everyone. You should be able to get housing. You should be able to feed yourself and your family. You want to have a wife at home? Your income for one person working should be high enough so that you can have your wife at home. I'm saying wife because, you know,
Yeah.
but the way that the government has been dysregulated, has been nickeled and dimed, the minimum wage at $7.25 an hour, I think it still is. That is disgusting.
It's an abomination.
It's people making $5,000 an hour and more, telling people making $25 to $50 an hour that the people making $15 an hour are making too much money. And the people that are making $7.25 an hour shouldn't be making that at all.
Yep, $7.25. I looked it up. You're right. Yeah, and I was gonna say, when Tiny Triple was born, and we did hunting and trying to figure out how to make it all work. We figured out it was better for me to stay home and for her to work, as opposed to have Tiny Triple go to, daycare. And I was fortunate that my work at the time allowed me to work from home, from this office right here. As a matter of fact, I still have the computer that they gave me to work with, because unfortunately the place closed. I still have that computer here. It's an old computer, no lie, but they were able to work with us, with me, and
Yeah,
it still worked.
I know stuff about your real life. I know that you're being underpaid. I know that you are being overworked.
Well, let's be fair about this. I work myself pretty damned hard.
I know you're being overworked because people vanished. Whatever, whether they were fired, left, disappeared, whatever, they vanished from the job. And now you are doing essentially the work of 2, 3, or 4 other people. You should have a raise or bonuses. But instead of hiring people, I bet you that they're just going to keep on working you to the bone and expecting you to do it.
No, they're actively having people coming in for interviews and such. So there will be people. It's just a question mark of how long it will take. But you're right. There are a lot of companies that simply do not pay nearly what they should. I can't say anything further about this one in particular for the moment, because I do not want to cross over too far on that one. But I will say as much as hard as I've been working at my particular job, my direct supervisor, he's working really hard, and I make it a point to check in with him. How are you holding up? Because as far as I'm concerned, my job may be for what I do specifically and a little bit of extra, but part of my job is also to make sure that my boss can do his job well. And if he's screwed because he's hurting, I'm going to do what I can to try to offload for him. And if that means doing my job really, really well so he doesn't have to deal with it, all the better.
The one problem with raising the minimum wage is that everybody that gets their wage just raised, the people that are paid more than them might not necessarily get similar compensation. Say you're making $11.25 an hour. Minimum wage is $7.25. Suddenly, it's $11 an hour. you're only making $25 or 25 cents more an hour than the people that are just starting at the same job you've been doing for 2 or 3 years. And you've earned your way up that. That's one of the wage stagnations.
Yeah.
Minimum wage is not what they must pay you. It's the least that they can get away with paying you. I like calling it minimum wage.
And that's why there are two really important words at that point that we're going to end off with. Unionize, people. Io, if you got anything last, here's your big opportunity, because we went a hell lot longer than I expected, and I can feel my brain smoothing out as I speak.
I can see that. Literally. I was a union baby from the time I was 9 and a bit until 18, and I ran away from home. I literally had to run from home. And I had good medical, good this, good that. I was also in Canada, so therefore most of the medical needs were paid for. Occasionally there would be a prescription that was screwy, but less than $10 per prescription, generally. If the United States doesn't see to fixing their social safety net, all they're going to end up with is a whole bunch of sick people that are unable to work. Not that they can't work, not that they don't want to work, unable because they don't have teeth, because their eyesight is that shitty, because they had an accident and instead of properly casting that bone, it was just allowed to heal. Gee, I wonder where that came from. They have heart attacks, and instead of doing everything that could be done to treat the person, oh, we're just going to let them go home as it is. Hopefully the drugs that we're giving them from now on will keep them stable if they don't die. Oh, that poor woman that's got gestational diabetes, well, she's just going to have to fix her diet, and maybe she'll eat well enough to have a healthy baby, but we're probably going to have to cut into her at 35 weeks. That's the way the American system is right now. It's people are sick. People are not able to work. Not that, like I said, not that they don't want to. They're not able to work. And when they find a job that they want to or can do, it's not enough in order to support themselves, let alone actually get themselves housing. And it's not the toast. It's how stupid everything has gotten when it comes to prices, when it comes to rent, when it comes to all of that. Everything's skyrocketed. And who's benefiting? Big landlords, little landlords too, big landlords, big corporations, some little corporations, the stockholder, people like, oh, I don't know, Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos. If I had $1 billion, I would not be sitting around going, let's see if I can get to Mars. I would be sitting around going, okay, show me some proposals about how to improve the lives of the people of this city. Let's see if we can get some housing in. Let's see if we can get mental health and other stuff in. These guys are narcissistic psychopaths that they don't care about anybody else but themselves. Yes, Bezos. Yes, Musk. Shoot yourselves to the moon. Go ahead. I'm sure your children would love to spend all of your money for you.
I'm going to finish off with this to kind of tie the whole thing together. There are so many religious groups that like to say that their big thing is the golden rule, and it supposedly came from their Messiah. Didn't. Golden rule is, and there are various different rules, by the way. I don't follow the golden rule. I follow the brass rule, or the brazen rule. The brass rule, the brazen rule is do unto others as they do unto you. It's a pretty good rule for me. I tend to work with that more often than not. The golden rule that so many of these people claim ownership in some way or other to. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. To that point, keep your religious observances off of everyone else, the same way that you would want them to keep their religious observances off of you. You don't want to be forced at the rule of law to have to sit Shiva. You would not want to be incarcerated for not respecting and fasting during Ramadan any more than they would want to be prosecuted for not observing Easter. Do unto others. Keep your nose out of everybody else's business. But then again, aren't there so many of you that want to put your nose into everyone else's? Because you think everyone else is putting their nose into yours. Maybe, just maybe, you take a better look. You have somebody else look for you. And you actually pay attention. We don't trust you. And with good reason. So if you want to go ahead and make your pulpit part of the lawmaking experience, how about you first think, what would the law look like if somebody else got there first? And then, as the doctor would say, do the smart thing. With that, we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a night. Thank you all for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in, well, all of our perspectives. Got something to think about for the week ahead. Over there on the live chat, Stephanie, Phyllis, guys, thank you. We really do appreciate it. It's been a hell of a night. It's gone a hell of a lot longer than I anticipated. And I appreciate you guys. Io, thank you ever so much for being able to be with me. Otherwise, this would have been an interesting, long talk. Not that I haven't done that before, but just I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And
I'm amazed I could keep up with you sometimes.
no, you do a fine job. I'm gonna assume it's the alcohol that's keeping me grounded right now. That's what I'm gonna go with.
Yep.
Which, by the way,
I have to set up.
go
I
ahead.
have to set up for tomorrow. I'm DJing for a local store. I'm DJing from the seat, and it's going to be piped into the store, which is really, really cool.
That's very cool. I just looked it up on here. 7.2% alcohol by volume. Huh. Well, all right. It's a little bit higher than the stuff that I'd normally have, which I think is more like 3 to 5. So, all right. That's pretty impressive.
Okay.
For myself, tomorrow, as of, well, technically later today, which it's tomorrow as far as I'm concerned because I still have to go to sleep. I'm going out to see my kid at the college because he forgot his computer mouse at home. So, yeah, I'm going to be taking that out to go see him. And as an aside, by the way, September 1st, I had forgotten, is his name change anniversary. So, Tiny Tribble, not that I expect that you're going to be seeing or hearing this anytime soon. Happy birthday. Proud of you. I'm proud for you. Well done, kid. Well done. So, with that, oh, right. And for the remainder of the week, I don't have anything else going on for myself. I've got the Friday night show for radio streaming in Second Life with Io and Dallin. I am not restarting my DJ sets until the week of the 16th. You guys can find out a little bit more about that. And beyond that, just thank you guys for being with us. Take very good care of yourselves. Because it is Labor Day Monday here in the US and Canada, and it is the unofficial start of the school year, please, and I do not say this lightly, religiously follow all speed limits and traffic signals in school zones. School buses aren't always just yellow. Sometimes they are Metro Transit buses as well. Please keep tabs of all the stuff that's going on. Be attentive. Take it nice and slow. Please do not become a statistic. Be safe of all of these lives, because the life you save may have only just started out. Don't do anything foolish. And of course, as always, we'll hopefully see you next week. So until that next time, as always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, my lady, still 19 years plus on. And yeah, I am still in love. Oh. Matane Fujin, I love you. I miss you. And next week, happy anniversary of meeting. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone. As always, good night.